Hello and welcome back to AAT's podcast, episode number 10, with myself, Addy of AddiBiotics.
Me, Aiden Riley.
Good afternoon, Aiden.
Good afternoon, Addy.
How are you?
Not bad, my friend. Nice day.
Again, surprising.
It's a nice day. It's a really nice day.
Yeah, it's true though. Thank God you don't have to wear the beanie caps or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like our good friend Tal does.
That's his trademark.
Yeah.
The hair, the beard, and the beanie cap. Well, I think like for example, actors have certain trademarks. They have certain trademark catchphrases. Now, for example, obviously Arnold, he's famous for the line "I'll be back." And when we review the Terminator movie, I've got a great story for you on that one. But I'm going to save it for that podcast.
Save it for the Terminator.
Save it for the Terminator.
The Terminator.
The Terminator. And same with Bruce Willis when it comes to the Die Hard movies.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Mother lover. No profanities allowed on this channel.
No.
and obviously you have De Niro, who's very famous for the movie Taxi Driver. You talking to me? You talking to me?
I'm the only one here. So
you talking to me. And Pacino in the movie
Say hello to my little friend.
Scarface. But have you ever watched the movie Scent of a Woman, where he plays a blind man?
No.
Right, that's one movie we have to review, even though it's early 90s. We still have to review it because for that movie he won Best Actor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Done.
Alright, so today's movie we're going to be talking about is it stars Sylvester Stallone. It was made in 1986, literally right after he did Rocky IV and Rambo 2. And this was actually the last movie he made with his wife at the time, Brigitte Nielsen. And so the movie, it's about a very tough police officer who takes on a gang of psychopathic bikers who's trying to kill a witness who saw a murder take place. And one of the funniest things about that movie definitely has to be that character's name. I mean, the surname was super cool, don't get me wrong, but the first name was still even funny, like Marion Cobra. It reminds me of another show that LL Cool J did, if you ever watched it, In the House.
I can remember that, yeah.
His name in that was Marion Hill, which is quite funny. And I can remember the first ever episode where the woman who's living in his house, and she goes, "My landlord's name is Marion," and he proudly says it himself, "I'm Marion." It's just the way he says it, "I'm Marion."
I'm Marion.
And she starts laughing as well. And she goes, "Hey, don't make fun of that name."
Leave me alone.
And he goes, "John Wayne's real name was Marion," which actually it was,
wasn't it?
Marion Wayne. So I've got a few funny stories to mention about that as well. So the movie we are referring to is the 1986 action movie Cobra. And you got to admit, it had such a cool tagline on it: "Crime is a disease, meet the cure."
Yeah, that was good. Yeah,
and the poster looked kind of sick as well.
Yeah,
it's like he looked like a modern day cowboy with the big glasses, the matchstick, toothpick, and you see even the pistol grip he had with the Cobra on it, which looked really.
That was
sick.
really cool when I saw that.
Yeah, and it paid a lot of homage to one of the greatest things about 80s action movies was gear up scenes. I used to love it.
Yeah, there was always close-ups on them, weren't there? It
was like, for example, Rambo 2, or you haven't seen that yet. Rambo 2, there's a really cool gear up scene in there. There's a pretty good gear up scene in Rambo 3, but unfortunately there was a deleted scene which I managed to come across where he's actually building a knife from scratch. And then you have it in the movie Raw Deal with Arnold. You have it a little bit in the movie in Die Hard 1, where McClane's killed the first terrorist and he's falling down the stairs and he's broken the guy's neck. And he goes through the bag. Oh, he's got this, he's got that, he's got this. Or I'll take this, I'll take that. He's got even a pack of cigarettes. He's like, "These are very bad for you," which is quite funny.
There's another thing as well that I like. You know, where the music is in sync with with each scene that passes. Like in Cobra, it's like you got the. It's always the same music with a Sylvester Stallone film, isn't it? Sort
of, because if he works well with like music composers, like for example, when he did the Rocky movies, he worked with the composer Bill Conti, and Bill Conti did a great job with all the Rocky movies except Rocky IV, where he didn't do the music composer to it. It was another composer, Vince DiCola.
Still great.
Oh yeah, hands down. And I think the same thing. But for the first 3 Rambo movies, he worked with Jerry Goldsmith. And for Rambo 4 and 5, because Goldsmith had passed away at the time, he worked with Brian Taylor, who's also famous for, I think he did a couple of the Fast and Furious scores. And he's an absolute brilliant composer. And he paid tribute in Rambo 4 and 5 to Goldsmith's themes. He paid tribute to that, to show him respect. That I'm not copying, I'm not stealing your work. This is not brand new. This is my respect to you, which is
Oh yeah. When somebody does so much work for you, you've got to pay homage to them. Haven't you?
Yeah, it's true, because you can't mimic great stuff.
No,
you can't do that.
No, definitely not.
No. So obviously, so the movie plot is obviously this witness who's this tall, 6 foot, beautiful blonde lady. Well, she's not blonde in that movie, but remember
she is beautiful in it.
Oh, definitely. Bridget Nielsen was a gorgeous lady. Imagine standing next to her and you're like looking up at her.
Yeah. I feel like a kid next to her.
She was like 6'1".
Yeah.
And definitely.
Same height as Henry Cavill.
Yeah, but you know the funny thing is, in Rocky 4, when she plays Drago's wife, they made a good match.
Yeah, they were great.
Similar haircut, similar, obviously blonde and everything, very tall, very short hair, but they made a good match. And she said, Dolph Lundgren was one of the nicest people she ever came across working. Yeah, so obviously, the story is obviously she has witnessed a crime. She's gone through a shock, and Cobra is the guy who's been assigned to protect her. But what he doesn't seem to realize is that how come in this department, every time he's trying to protect somebody, the floor's pulled out from underneath him, and he mentions that as well, doesn't he?
But he's got somebody that doesn't believe him though.
Yeah,
they're all against him.
One guy is always particularly against him, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
The character Monty.
Yeah. He does not like him.
He doesn't like him.
Polar opposite kind of
complete. It's especially in the opening scene where the police captain, there's a hostage situation in the supermarket, and then the guy goes, "Oh, what does this guy want? We don't know." He goes, "Call the Cobra."
And he's like,
"Oh, really?
We don't need to make things worse."
He goes, "No. Sometimes you need something worse."
Yeah.
And he's
what's on the way
in that cool car.
Yeah, and then he says to him, doesn't he? "Look, I don't agree with you coming here, but just try not to mess things up even more." And then obviously Cobra's like,
And that was funny. I love the editing in that scene where the car's pulling in, all the police officers are pulling all the "do not cross" signs out of the way because they've got to let this guy cross through. And when he stops the car, and even his license plate looked cool, awesome.
Yeah, that was
cool. And then he comes out, you see him with those cool type of boots, and he just turns around with a matchstick in his mouth, and he's got those sunglasses were a fashion trend back in the 80s.
It was the same size of his face, weren't it?
They were like this big. So for people who haven't seen the movie Cobra, look at the poster and see how massive those glasses were on Stallone's face. They were like literally this big. They look like kind of binoculars.
If he wanted to protect his whole face from the sun, he'd wear them.
They were like aviator glasses, weren't they?
Yeah, they were huge.
They were huge. I mean, think about it, even in Top Gun, which was one of the biggest movies ever, they all wore sunglasses like that, didn't they? Because obviously they're all fighter pilots.
Mm.
And so obviously, that worked quite well even for this movie. So what was even funny was when he comes in there and then he just like asks his partner, "What's going on?" He goes, "How bad is it?" "Oh, it's real bad. Just some guy woke up hating the world all of a sudden." And then he goes in, he goes, "Right, you got to go in there and deal with this guy." And what was really funny was when that guy is shouting, "I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that."
The new world.
And then
about the new world.
And the new world. And then he's just quietly calm in there when he picks up that beer can, has a quick sip of it and just flings it. And then that's it. That was a cool scene. It's like, "Oh, you keep talking, I'm going to have a quick drink."
That's when he's in there, isn't it?
Yeah. And then when he grabs the speakerphone and he goes, "I'm going to waste you for wasting the kid."
That I love that part, because obviously when because he keeps popping up and the guy keeps shooting, he keeps throwing stuff, the guy keeps shooting the things that he's throwing.
You're seeing how much of a bad shot he is.
Exactly, and that's what he says, isn't it? Doesn't he? He goes, "You're a bad shot."
Like a lousy shot.
And I hate lousy shots. He goes, and then he threatens him on the speakerphone. And then he goes, I'm gonna. What does he say again?
I'm gonna waste you.
I'm gonna waste you.
And the funny thing is, when he's in there, he's still got the glasses on. He doesn't take them off until you see him at the apartment.
Yeah.
And then he takes off the sunglasses, and it's like for the first time, all right, so it is Sylvester Stallone.
When he points the gun at her, and he goes, "I'll kill her," and he goes, "Go and do it."
No, the other line was when he goes, "I'll blow this place up," because "Go ahead, I don't shop here." That was another good scene. And so some good stories about, so that obviously if you have that character, Marion Cobretti, who's this tough as nails cop, who doesn't doesn't play by the rules. He does whatever we have to do. Because there's a scene in there as well where he goes, you know, for long as we play by these rules and the criminal doesn't, we're going to lose. He's trying to tell them something, but why are you not listening to this guy? You know, he knows what he's doing.
Yep.
And then when you see that other scene where afterwards, when he goes into a little shooting range with his partner, he goes, we're going to have to wait for it to happen again. He knows it's going to happen again. So for God's sake, send this guy out before the worst thing happens.
Yep.
And then the captains, and obviously when there's more...
Sort of politics involved with it.
There's loads of politics involved in that. And then you have so that's one character. Then you have the character, the night slasher, who's the main leader of that group. And then Cobra is like saying to them, we're not dealing with one man, we're dealing with an army of people.
And they still don't believe him.
They don't believe him. And they're like, how do you know? He goes, I just know. Oh, you know. Like, you know everything. Yeah. We don't know what we're doing.
Like, you don't know everything all the time, Cobra. All right, come on. Leave it to us. You shut up, be quiet, let the big boys deal with it all. And obviously he's thinking, you guys know nothing. You guys actually know nothing. Because they're always having an argument. He's always in trouble because he's going by his belief. Yeah. But obviously they just think, no, we know better.
You don't know. This guy knows what he's doing. This is why he's the top cop.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing. And so you have the actor who played the night slasher. His name was Brian Thompson. He was actually famous for playing Shao Kahn in the very terrible Mortal Kombat Annihilation movie. That was him, actually. I couldn't believe it when I saw it.
That was the first Mortal Kombat one, wasn't it?
No, the second one. Second one. That came out...
All Mortal Kombat films are quite...
apart from the first one.
The first one was great. I loved it.
Yeah, it was a good movie. And then you had Annihilation, which was just so awful, of the fact that it put a third movie in development hell for over 15 years. Oh, yeah. So then, also another thing that you see, when they mentioned in Cobra, where they were going to him that, oh, you have a, where they're saying, oh, you belong with the zombie squad. You should stay there. That we don't need this gung-ho type of police officer's behavior. Well, we're trying to bring order to the streets, and it's like, you're not bringing any order. They're ordering everything.
They're ordering the streets.
They're ordering the streets.
They're running around going absolutely crazy, killing people.
Yeah.
And you need another person that's going to go absolutely crazy on the streets, killing people.
Yeah.
You need the same kind of character. You need the same kind of person to deal with it.
They actually referred that same sort of thing in the movie Demolition Man.
He's the same kind of guy. In that,
it is, because if you look at it, remember they're trying in that scene, like, not going off topic, in that scene where Cobra goes, in Demolition Man, when they're looking at the old footage of Stallone's character, and they're looking at what Wesley Snipes' character is doing now, because we never dealt with this type of criminal before. Because he's an old-fashioned criminal, so you're going to need an old-fashioned cop to take him down.
That's when Stallone's character comes back. They bring him back. They thaw him out, don't they?
Yeah, which is really kind of a funny scene, but you never know what happens. So they call him like the Zombie Squad, and he said Stallone got the idea for the Zombie Squad, which is a real life zombie squad in Belgium, actually, and it comprises of police officers who go out at night and handle crazed criminals on their own terms. So in a way, he added some sense of realism to that character and to that screenplay.
He's not the kind of guy to mess with.
No, I mean,
I love. You know what I love about the film as well, where he has the where he's parked outside his house. And you always get that one guy that is just not giving him enough space to park up.
Yeah, the gang.
Like, you're a good citizen.
Yeah, the second time, but when he sees him that's after he's done the supermarket scene. Yeah, and then he goes, that's really bad for your health. Is what is me? The same line he says in it when he's got the guy in the supermarket, and he's looking. That was actually a cool look on Stallone. The jeans, the big sunglasses, and he's got the cool pistol and everything. And he's like, the guy's like, I'm a hero. And he goes, no, you're a disease. I'm the cure. And then he just flings that knife at him, and he's like, drop it, bang, 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 bang.
And he just got full of man. That's
and then when he does that cool spin with the gun, and he flings it in,
puts it back into his Cobra.
Good. The whole. I mean. That shot, when he just flings back and you see the cool sign there, that's the first time you see that sign of him using it. You see in the opening sequence a little bit of him picking the gun up when he's giving that monologue. But when he does it in action, even better. Yeah. Proper raise the bar. And then what's another good character I like in that movie was... so actually, go back to the Night Slasher, played by Brian Thompson. Did you know he got turned down for that role a few times?
So who was it in the first place? Who was it?
There was nobody. They said that they thought he was way too nice to play this character.
I think it was his. I mean, when I looked at
he said
it,
7 times he was auditioning for that role. 7 times.
Do you think it was because the way he looks? He kind of looks like a pretty boy in a way, doesn't it? If you look at his face, he has got like a kind of like a pretty boy face. I think he may have probably had to change himself slightly.
You had to, innit? Yeah.
To make himself a little bit more intimidating, because I can imagine him putting a bit of weight on.
Well, he had to. Well, he's a big dude anyway. He was like 6'1", 6'2", compared to Stallone, who's like just under 6. 5'10", 5'11". So he just said. So Stallone said to him that when he on his 4th edition, him and the director thought, yeah, Thompson's too nice to play this guy.
He would have had to switch himself up.
Yeah, because after another screen test, he immediately got the job. And he said he kept asking Stallone, what should his character be? And Stallone just said to him, play him as evil as you can. That was it. He goes, just play as evil as you can. And that was it. He got the part. And years later, they hadn't spoken to each other for like 20 odd years in real life, Stallone and Thompson. Until, here's a funny story, that Stallone's daughters and Thompson's daughters met at a horse training ranch. and he met him there, and he goes, I know you don't. He goes, obviously, hey Sly, how you doing? And how you doing? And he just says to him, and then they started. Thompson's daughters started training Stallone's daughters on how to ride horses, and the rest, yeah, that's how they met each other after 20 odd years.
Small world.
So it got even smaller, and yeah, so that was it. It was a really good lesson there. And one of my other favourite characters was Gonzalez, Cobra's partner. The one who's
the sugar man.
The sugar. He's always eating.
Always eating sugar, isn't he?
Always eating.
And Cobra's like, you need a bit of fruit in your diet. And he's like, I don't want fruit, I want sugar. What are you, my dad?
Yeah, Rennie Santana.
What are you, my dad?
yeah, Rennie Santana. Yeah, Santana.
Look, when he goes, you need some cheese. I don't want cheese.
I want the cake.
You need some grapes. I don't want grapes. I want sugar. I want cake.
No, it was that scene where you can realise he's got a sugar addiction. You know when the night slashers killed another person, and then they're meeting on top of a roof where you got the police captain, you got that jerk Monty character. And I mean, he was a good character. I think if you didn't have a character like that in a movie, it would have thrown the whole thing off top. You have to have that sort of arrogant, selfish...
But he also holds him back. He also holds Cobra back.
Yeah.
By giving him all these rules and restrictions to go by.
He does.
So if you don't have that, then Cobra's just going to do whatever he wants. Even though he does it all the time in the film anyway.
Yeah.
But he's going to be a bit worse, which will be very far-fetched, wasn't it, really?
Oh, definitely. And then you have... And then what's another thing is in that same scene where the captain goes, you know, every sick person in the city, shake him down and find out what you can do to get a lead on this guy. And he goes, well, if I find him, what do I do? He goes, do what you do best. Captain just says to me, I'm throwing the rule book out the window.
He knows he needs him.
They can't live without him.
But Monty doesn't like that.
And then he goes, try not wasting the same guy, but what do you care? And Gonzalez is there like, when this is over, I want to celebrate by punching him in his chest.
And then that's when he goes, you know what your problem is?
You're too violent.
You're too violent. And he's like,
me?
Too violent?
Me? You want to shoot everyone. And then he goes, all right, so it's all that sugar you're eating. He goes, what sugar? This thing? He goes, all that junk food you eat. He goes, try prunes, something natural. He goes, fish and rice, try that. Try fish and rice.
Fish and rice. I love sugar.
And then another scene where you see him at the end where they're having to get this witness out of the city, and he's gone into the...
he's got to show you the point, brings out all these chocolate bars.
Chocolate bars, all this. And he goes, Cobra's got that rubber frog. He goes, when you had a little meat tea, he goes, no thanks, I hate frogs' legs.
Well, then she eats it and goes, hey look, I found another sugar person. He's like, he just, what does he call her? Sugar, something like that.
What is it about that same?
Yeah, because she wants one of his candy bars.
No, he gives it to her.
Yeah, he's like, oh, thank you. He's like, hey, look what I found, another sugar guy.
Yeah, sugar buddy.
Yeah, another sugar buddy. And he's like, that.
And then, what was also funny was in that other scene. So, so Monty, like I say, we have that same character who's basically, very arrogant towards him, doesn't like his methods. He thinks, oh, you should play by the book. And goes, but at the end of the day, none of these criminals are playing by the book, are they? Not that they even know the book exists. And so he goes, if they can't play by these rules, then why should we do? We should fight them on their own terms to get the job done. And in a way, he's kind of right. In a way. Yeah. Remember when at the end when they're coming over to, get rid of the witness, but there's the whole gang of bikers there.
We'll talk about that part.
Yeah,
that's a weird. I mean, it was a bit vague for me. That gang just suddenly turns up. How many people did he kill in that scene? And they just kept showing up. Anyway.
Well, I can try and get the number for you right here and now.
About 50 people. And in the beginning, when they first turned up, there was about 30 odd, 40 odd.
Yeah, I mean, because like obviously
now all of them was 60. Like,
do you remember when we reviewed Tango and Cash? Do you remember when we reviewed? Because they asked Stallone once, how would you describe the character Marion Cobra? Now, do you remember when we reviewed Tango and Cash, and he when they're asking Kurt Russell, how would you describe your character, and he said, basically, he's like Bruce Springsteen with the badge. Stallone said the exact same thing about Marion Cobra. I think in a way it is kind of...
Yeah, I think I can see why he would say that. Because he was, Bruce Springsteen. Because he's got the trousers, he's got the jeans, he's got the fashion style, hasn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
That was Bruce Springsteen back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, definitely he was. So like it just in the dark, born in the USA. That was another one. And yeah, so you have that, like I said, you got that character Monty in it. Now, believe it or not, the two actors who were in that movie who played Monty, and you had so Andrew Robinson who played Detective Monty, and you had Rennie Santiani who played Gonzalez. They were actually in the original Dirty Harry movie, and in that, obviously, he's Andrew Robinson's character is the bad guy, and Gonzalez is actually teamed up with Clint Eastwood's character, with Harry Callahan.
In that film, he's a lone wolf, isn't he? Dirty Harry.
Yeah, but he has no choice but to bring in a partner this time.
Yeah, he's not gonna allow that.
You don't want to mess with Dirty Harry.
No.
That's why they call him Dirty Harry. And you feel lucky to be in his presence, don't you, punk? And so, that was one set. And now, Cobra's car, what did you think of it?
Badass, man.
It was a sick car, wasn't it?
Yeah, the stunts he pulls off in that.
Oh my god.
You know, the way he drifts around corners chasing after, when he's chasing after Night Slasher.
Oh, yeah, so that was actually a custom made 1950 Mercury. That was the name of the car, and it was actually owned by Stallone himself in real life.
He trashed that car to
bits. I think what they did was they made like doubles of them. Obviously, you have to.
Yeah, he's not going to want to trash that.
He's not going to want to trash that car, and then you have obviously doing the jumps. You're doing the all these cool car chases happening place. You think Stallone's going to do that to his own car,
no.
even though he could probably afford 10 more down the line?
Yeah, but I think that car needs to be loved. It needs to be cherished, and you're not really cherishing that car by smashing it to bits.
No, you're not. You are definitely not doing that. Yeah, definitely not.
That was a beautiful car.
It was. I mean, that was actually one of my ideal cars back in them days as well. It truly was. Because obviously back in the 80s, say for example, when we reviewed the A-Team a while ago, what was one of the most famous props in that whole movie?
The car.
The van, BA's
van.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the van.
And, you're right about the car, because Face brought in a Corvette ZR1.
But it was all about the van.
It was all about the van.
It was all about the van. It's that Scooby-Doo van, isn't it?
Oh, the Mystery Machine.
Yeah.
And then you had, because you had that in Miami Vice, the TV series, you had the Ferraris. And Cobra kind of brought that sort of ambience to the big screen. You have this tough-as-nails looking cop, and he needs a cool car. I mean, that car was probably bigger than Cobra, I would say. It definitely was.
Man, that car was just extremely badass.
It was a beast.
It was.
I can remember at the end of it when he's like, when the captain says, "Oh, you've done a good job here," and he's like, "Well, is there anything we can do for you guys? Can I have my car replaced?"
Yes.
No, sorry, it's not in our budget. He goes, "All right, it was worth a try." He's like that. I'd like to have my car replaced.
I'd like my car replaced.
Yes, we would like to, but it's not in our budget.
It's a bit too much for us, Cobra. I'm sorry.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to talk a little bit about the trouble on set. There was a bit of trouble on the set of this movie. Oh yeah, there was. So I've got a few stories on here, but I want to quickly mention one thing as well before we go into the trouble on set, because you know how most action heroes back in the 80s were called John. You had John Rambo, again played by Stallone. John McClane played by Bruce Willis, and you also had John Matrix in the movie Commando with Schwarzenegger.
John Matrix, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was
a name, John Matrix. That's not bad.
Matrix. Yeah, it was quite a badass name, John Matrix.
Great name, isn't it?
And then, because remember at that time, Stallone and Schwarzenegger were rivals.
One head to head, neck and neck.
It was kind of like when you ask Stallone years later and Schwarzenegger years later. Before I go into this, they would ask him why. I'll tell you a funny story. They were interviewing Stallone once because is it true you and Arnold were like you hated each other during the 80s? He goes, no, we were very competitive. I say hate is a good word to choose, and he goes, yeah, hate's a good word we could choose, and because every movie like the body count's bigger than the other one, the muscles are bigger than the other one. I can bench more.
The guns, the action scenes, the explosions,
bigger. And so they named this hero Marion after John Wayne because John Wayne's real name was Marion Rob Morrison.
Do you think it was kind of like an imitation, modernised John Wayne?
Yeah, I think it was in a way.
Homage to him.
Yeah, because I can remember towards the end where Gonzalez, like the scene in it where Gonzalez goes to Ingrid, played by Bridget Nielsen. She goes, how come Cobra never smiles? He goes, I got something that can make you smile. And he goes, what? Come here. Whispering in her ear. So go then tell him, he goes, Gonzalez told me something funny. He goes, what's that? Marion Cobretti. He goes, oh, he's got a big mouth, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got a big mouth, hasn't he?
Is that at the end of it as well, where he goes, you ready? I'm ready, Marion. He goes, catchy name, isn't it? It was, because then again, that was his wife at the time. She's not going to make fun of him like that always.
No. Yeah. But you could tell those two would have actually had some banter.
Yeah, definitely.
I bet there's a lot of banter in the film.
There was. I mean, I like the chemistry between Cobra and Gonzalez.
Yeah,
that was a good chemistry.
Sugar man.
Yeah. When he's swearing at him, he goes, oh, you fancy that witness? He goes, I was focused on the job. He goes, you liar. Watch your mouth, you're in public. So I was talking about the trouble that actually happened on set. Now, obviously, bear in mind, Stallone at that time was at the height of his fame. Making big numbers at the box office with Rocky. Making bigger numbers at the box office with Rambo. All the other action movies and dramas he did in between, from Nighthawks, Over the Top, Escape to Victory. You need to watch that. It's a really good sports movie. I think one of the worst movies he did back in the 80s was Rhinestone. And I'm going to say this politely, we are not reviewing that movie. No chance.
You've told me about that.
Yes, it's scary. It's like a horror film without the horror in it. That's the best way of describing that one, bro.
Rhinestone.
Yes.
Oh,
do not watch that movie. You'll probably have nightmares. It's that bad, I'm telling you. Is that
the one where he's the singer?
Country western singer. No, because what was funny the fact was that
oh no, Sly.
When I watched it for the very first time, because I was actually doing a Stallone marathon, I'm not going to lie, I did like from the very first movie to the very latest one. I ended up with the latest Rambo movie at the time, which was Rambo 4. When I watched that Rhinestone, I was like, I am never ever putting this on ever again. He actually said out of most movies he ever did, that was one of the movies he regretted making. I said,
blame the man.
I don't blame him either. He said either that movie or... Do you remember the movie Romancing the Stone with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner?
Oh.
And he had Danny DeVito in it as well. Stallone was actually up for Michael Douglas's role, and then he turned it down to do Rhinestone. He goes, that was one of the biggest regrets I ever made. He goes,
well, was that a better film?
Way better.
Oh,
I would say, yeah, way better. Sorry, Sly. As much as an inspiration and as much as a true...
We've got to tell the truth.
We have to... I'm sorry, Sly.
We've got to unveil. We've got to expose people to these kind of details. Yeah. So you can't blame Sly.
Well, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I want to talk about a little bit now.
Not like he's watching this anyway.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
If so, you're an inspiration to us both. We'll keep punching. Yeah. And nothing is over, like you said in Rambo 1. Sorry for one dialogue, but I have to tell you that. Okay, so the trouble on set that happened was, at one point during filming, Stallone complained to the cinematographer named Rick White saying that his team were falling behind and him and his crew need to work harder to get the film completed. And apparently he complained a lot, Stallone did. And this guy didn't take any lip off Stallone, no matter how much of a big star he was. And his exact response to him was, maybe if you got your hands off Brigitte Nielsen's ass and stopped showing off to your bodyguards, they wouldn't have this problem. Those were his exact words. And he said Stallone was shocked that somebody would talk to him like that, but he did agree to tone down his ego for a few weeks. But in an interview, White did say Stallone had a great sense of humour despite his huge ego, and that he was also, there was a rumour that Stallone was probably the real director of that film, and the actual director himself, George P. Compos, was a good producer but a bad director. And apparently when Stallone was never on set, this director rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Do you think that Stallone stayed humble, or do you think he actually just went off on one in this film and just think about, oh yes, I am Stallone, I am the man, and I'm going to be like this guy who will just be above everybody else?
Yeah.
Do you think that his fame got to him just a little bit?
Now that you mentioned it, I watched a few interviews with him, like obviously interviews years later.
Yeah.
Because remember, Cobra was done back in 1986. Stallone said in a few interviews when he, at first, because obviously people looked down on him growing up, obviously because of the droopy lip, the deep voice. He was very antisocial, been expelled from 13 schools in 12 years. Wow. He got expelled.
That's a lot of school.
Because he kept getting into fights. He was obviously a troubled kid.
What about his growing up, his childhood?
Same thing. What do you expect? When he was born with that droopy lip, people made fun of him. Yeah, they bullied him because of a facial deformity.
That's going to take some effect on.
Of course it is. And then he said a few years later, and then when he made it big with Rocky, Rocky 1 made him a huge star. Rocky 2 made him a lot of money. He made him rich. And obviously all the other movies that came along, he was making good money with that. And he then became quite the egotistical person. And he says, if I could jump in a time machine, from watching all my own interviews, if I could jump in a time machine, go back in time, what I would do is punch myself in the head to say, shut up.
There you go. That's the answer.
Yeah.
Yep.
He admitted he had a huge ego.
Yeah,
apparently the same
thing. You can't blame the guy though. I mean, it's going to get to you. It's going to get to you, isn't it? I mean, you can't. I mean, let's be honest here. Whoever comes into contact with fame or money or anything like that, it's gonna be one of these things where you go, right, okay, I've got a decision to make here. I'm a big star.
Yeah.
I've got all this money. I have the right to act this way because I've worked hard for it.
Yeah, you did.
But obviously, when you look back on it, you're like,
why was I like that?
You know what? It's always hindsight, isn't it? It's always reflection going, I shouldn't have been like that. But when you're in the moment, that's when you go, you know what? I deserve to be this way.
Yeah.
Plus, he was bullied, so perhaps that was another way of getting back at the people that bullied him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Look at me. I'm better than you.
Apparently, the same thing happened on the movie Escape to Victory, where he's in the football. It's a soccer movie, and in that he's the goalkeeper. And they said that on set, he was complaining about the ending of the film. He said because he was the biggest star on the set, he should score the winning goal. When all the pro footballers at the time were like saying to him, Sly, the goalkeeper does not score the goal. There's no do it. He held up filming, and they had to rechange the ending because of his ego. And apparently he was a bit more egotistical there, where it said that he would not even come and sit down and eat lunch with his cast members. Like on the weekend, he'd fly by private jet to Paris or London to go chill out there. We had the money.
Yeah.
And obviously he's still extremely wealthy and everything. And and apparently none of the supporting cast or crew were allowed to talk to him during filming. He wanted to be left alone.
Strange. But perhaps that's himself being secluded again, a recluse.
Yeah, definitely happened on set where not even the cast and crew members who were fans of him were allowed to talk to him. And here's another idea as well. So here's what else happened. You know the scene at the end where the Night Slasher is giving that big sort of speech saying, you know, we are the future, you know, we kill the weak so the strong would survive. When he was rehearsing that scene, he had to do it with the script girl, Brian Thompson, who played him. Because you know why? Stallone was off watching a basketball game on television. Seriously, yeah. Seriously.
Oh, no. What?
Yeah. He was watching a basketball game on television and he didn't want to be disturbed.
That's it.
Wow. No, he like I said, all those years later when he watched himself, he goes, you know when you've all of a sudden been given so much fame, I mean, where, you know, he was given even more fame.
Yeah.
You know why? Because he created Rocky.
Yeah.
He cemented that. He cemented and created one of the greatest characters in all cinema history.
He let his ego take over, didn't he?
He did.
When you let your ego take over, it's going to take control of you.
You know, think about who he was back in the 80s.
Yeah, he was the man.
He was the man. Women threw themselves at him, even though he was already married. And there's a story about how Bridget Nielsen and him met. So I'll mention this. There was an interview with her. She goes, "How did you meet Stallone?" And she goes, "I knew who he was. Obviously, he was this big star, very handsome guy and everything. I sent a picture of myself to him. And because that time he had just gotten divorced. He was getting divorced from his first wife. And she goes, I met him for the first time. You know, he was a very charming, very nice guy, very, you know, handsome, very, you know, good sense of humour. And a lot of people said the same thing. Stallone on set, he would have a good sense of humour. He'd have funny stories and everything. And then they had a relationship. Funny thing is, Stallone's own mother said to him, "Don't go out with this girl. There's something off with her."
Okay.
Jackie Stallone, she said the exact same thing. "Don't go out with this girl. There's something off with her." And apparently they were married a year later. But she kept saying, "Oh, he begged me to marry him." And she goes, "Why would you not want to marry Rocky, of all people? Why would you not want to marry him? He had everything going for him. He was in great shape. You know, he had a lot of money going for him." And then literally the year after this movie was released, they got divorced. They were only married for like 2 years.
This is Cobra.
In real life, yeah. Stallone and Bridget Nielsen. And that's why you see in the movie Tango and Cash, which was a year later, when he makes that reference, doesn't he? When he falls down, line goes, "What did you do?" Cash goes, "Where did you stop off for coffee in Danish?" He goes, "I hate Danish." Again, referring to his messy divorce. Apparently this divorce was way more messier than the first one.
Well, I mean, it was actually in the limelight, wasn't it, when it was happening? It
was well in the limelight. Yeah. Apparently she became famous for being married to him.
I'm not surprised. Like I said, it's Rocky.
Yeah.
You're married to Rocky, you're going to be like this, you're going to be worldwide famous, aren't you?
Definitely, yeah.
If you live in a cave, you're not going to, well, actually, even people that probably live in caves will know about Rocky.
Yeah, of course they would. Anywhere. And so what would happen was, and then obviously so that was another thing that had happened, where, you know, there was people who were not allowed to talk to him on the set. He wouldn't turn up for rehearsals. And even some certain actors were saying as well, like, Stallone was the main director, whereas I mentioned previously, George, who was the real director, who's credited, was a tyrant to people on set.
It's really odd, isn't it?
It's very odd, yeah.
Do you think Sylvester? Well, I mean, it wouldn't have helped it wouldn't have helped the crew at all that both Sylvester Stallone and the director himself were both quite terrible anyway. Yeah. I mean, you got a guy who's running around, doesn't want to be bothered. And I would hate to work in a place like that.
You would be, apparently. And apparently, you know the scene where the night slashers basically doing that monologue, and he's like spitting water out of his mouth and all that stuff. But you see that at the end. So apparently, when Stallone was on set, and in fact, literally, he was actually literally directing the film, how he wanted it to look and everything. Because
Stallone.
Yeah, because if you look at it, how many movies did he direct before this one came?
Yeah, well,
he did Rocky. I think he also did the movie Paradise Alley. I think he directed that as well.
So he was already made for directing. So he probably just took over and go, "Yeah, I know how I want the film." So he wrote the screenplay, didn't he?
Right. Yeah, he had some credits to it as well.
He basically could have just directed the film himself.
Yeah.
You might as well Why did he need that guy to direct it?
Yeah, and like, you know, basically when he said to Brian Thompson, you know, when you say that, drink, I want you to drink as much water, and then when you say it, it spits out and it comes on camera. And the director agreed with Stallone and everything that he wanted to do and just stayed out of his way. That was it. He actually said that. He goes, I'll stay out of your way.
Oh, God. You'd say let it just take over.
Well, then, if you look at it this way, sometimes when Stallone don't direct a movie, like, especially when he didn't direct Rocky V.
Yeah, that was terrible.
It went terrible. It gets a lot of hate, but I don't think it deserves that much hate.
What, Rocky V?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't need it. It doesn't deserve that much hatred. But it was a bad film. But it doesn't deserve that much hatred. It's got loads of hatred towards it. If you say Rocky V to anyone, they'll be like, don't talk about that film, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, another thing that happened, Brian Thompson actually got injured on set when you know the final scene where his character is chasing Bridget Nielsen through the manhole leading into the sewers. So prior to that shooting scene, Thompson said to the director and the special effects person about these, you know, squibs, you know, like these little explosive little squibs that go off. And you know, so when the cameras were supposed to be on, they're supposed to go off at a certain time to go off when Stallone shoots at him. When I think you see that scene where she's climbing up the ladder, and then you have the corrupt police female officer who's down there trying to shoot her, and he's like shooting up there as well. And you see all the little dust bits coming on his head. That didn't go off on time, and he got injured. The little squids that you're supposed to press. Okay, so it's like 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They didn't go off on time, and he got injured.
So we got injured by one of them.
Yeah, they can go. Particularly one thing, when those charges don't go off on time, you could seriously cause a serious injury. The same thing even happened on Stallone's other movie, The Expendables, when you know the scene where Steve Austin's character is running and he's got that bag of money and the explosive charge went off. They said if that bag wasn't in front of Austin when it happened, he would have lost his leg. And Steve Austin, the pro wrestler I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Stone Cold.
My favourite wrestler.
I remember, yeah. You
that's
mentioned.
The bottom line.
And because Stone Cold said so. Yeah. And also, so now I want to talk about a little bit about the props that were made, that the movie was quite sort of famous for. First one definitely has to be the Night Slasher's knife.
Oh, yes, the knife.
It was a cool knife. Because think about it, even in the 80s, a lot of the heroes carried knives. Rambo was definitely famous for the knife. Yeah. So Stallone went to one of the knife.
You saw the knife in the hospital, didn't you?
No, he actually said, I want them to make a knife that the audience will never forget.
Yeah. But when he was in the elevator scene.
Yeah.
Right. You know when that black lady turned around and go, I remember to take the stairs next time.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna
I thought he was gonna do that as well.
Oh, when she's done.
I thought
he held the knife like that.
Yeah.
I thought I was just like, no, you need to get out now. You need to get out the lift.
Run for it.
Out the lift. And then she turned around and said, remember next time to take the stairs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you're dead.
Yeah.
And then he just holds back and like, oh.
The same
okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought she was just going to come out and just see a body tumble out. Yeah, she's gone.
Yeah, exactly. And then you had, you had that knife there. One of my favourite things was Cobra's, I think a lot of people who were fans were definitely not just his car, the cool pistol grip he had on his pistol, the Cobra on there as well. And like when you see it for the first time in the opening scene when he's pulling it out and he shoots at the camera, and the other scene where he's spinning the pistol and he puts it back in the holster. And also the other submachine gun he starts putting it together, again paying homage to 80s action films where you see the hero gearing up for the battle he's about to take place. Even though he was even with a sword, even with a gun, even with a knife, those preparation scenes were just legendary, and they'll always be legendary.
There's a moment in the film as well where when they get prepared and you see the birds flying off.
Yeah.
And then it's in sync with the music, and it's cutting back to him, and then it's going to the birds flying away, and then it's cutting to the gang coming, and it's coming back to him, but it's with the beat like
yeah,
and it's cutting back every time.
Definitely.
To each scene. That was another 80s thing, wasn't it?
Definitely, yeah. Music was always it's like even in the movie Commando, where Matrix is gearing up on the beach for the fight he's about to take place. Everything was in sync, and it was fast editing, but still it was good stuff.
Yeah.
It was definitely good stuff there, and so that was another good thing he had. But one of my favorite scenes in that movie was definitely not just the gear up scene, but some of the monologues Cobra would give as well. Like, this guy's trying to make a point to you people. You're on the same team. Why are you not listening? It's like when the police chief goes to him, Cobra, do you know you have an attitude problem? He's like, yeah, it's just a little one. Yeah, that was a good line there. Do I really care what you got to say?
He just turns around, he stops, doesn't he? And he turns around and goes,
yeah,
small.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then when you see him, then obviously when you see the scenes in that where basically Cobra, he's trying to get Gonzalez to eat a lot better, and he's standing there eating with the apple, and he goes to Bridget Nielsen's character, do you want to bite? He goes, you don't like health food either. The same thing at the end, you know, she's having those fries and she drowns and that look on his face was priceless. That was good acting.
Well, you know, the thing is, what made me laugh about that, because it actually did make me laugh. I just burst out laughing when I saw it. You know, when he puts on the jukebox, and then he sits down. But when he's at the jukebox, you're still seeing her putting the tomato ketchup, and then he walks around and sits down and he's talking to her and she's still squirting the tomato ketchup.
Yeah.
And then it zooms in on the ketchup and then it zooms in on Stallone's face, Cobra's face, and he's talking. And then it zooms back onto the ketchup and then back to Cobra and he's like that.
That look on his face was just priceless. That was good acting by Stallone.
What are you doing? It's just, you just see it like, just squirting the whole...
Yeah.
You like, even I was like,
oh. Then he says that line, don't he? He goes, you need a life preserver for what your fries are drowning.
Well, he's one to talk though, isn't he? He eats leftover pizza in the beginning of the film.
Yeah, he does, but that's just once. But then you see him eating an apple down the line.
Yeah.
And then he's trying to get Gonzalez to do
the exact same thing. Like,
no, you're not doing it.
Here, have some cheese. I don't want cheese.
I want that cake over there.
I want that cake over there.
What was also funny was in that scene where there's a scene back again in the diner scene. There's a drink on there and it says King Cobra. It's a beer and it's like obviously referring to Stallone there as Stallone's character. So okay, that was another good. Let's talk favorite scenes. We'll do two each. You first.
My favorite scene. Well, I think it's definitely got to be where the biker gang come into town.
Yeah, that's a good scene.
And it all kicks off.
Yeah.
It all kicks off. I love that part.
They cut the phone lines and they even put all the sheriff's department on hostage.
Like the big action scene, man. That's it.
Yeah,
it's got
definitely. My favourite scene is definitely got to be the gear up scene, where he's gearing up for the fight that's taking place, and he goes to her, and he's in the room with her, and she goes, no. He goes, how do you know I wasn't asleep? Your eyes are open, that sort. And that was another thing. And then she's like calling him over. She's like, are we going to see each other ever again? He goes, I'm not sure. Because he doesn't want to mix business with pleasure. So he has to keep his head on straight.
Yeah.
And next scene?
My next scene, the car chase.
Yeah, definitely that was a good car chase. Especially for its time. No special effects, no wires, no CGI.
It starts off calm.
Yeah.
But then they just come out of nowhere, block Gonzalez off.
Yeah.
And go, where's Gonzalez? And the next minute, you just see this guy come in front of him, starts firing.
Yeah.
And then he spins the car around and chases after that guy. Like,
yeah,
he's in for it now.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
Holy hell! This guy's just like, you just get going over those ramps.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, every time he dented that car, it's just like, you have to dent the car.
Yeah, and then he wants it repaired.
I'm not that materialistic, but that car was so nice.
It was a nice car. I totally agree with you on that one. And next, that was your favourite. My favourite scene was at the end when they've kind of agreed with what he's done.
Oh, I've got another one.
Yeah, go for it.
There's a reference to The Shining in that film.
Go ahead.
Where she's in the bathroom in the hospital.
Yeah. And
it goes quiet, and the night slash is somewhere, and then you just see the axe, the knife come through the door. Definitely. That's definitely a Shining reference right there, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah, it was. And then you had one of my other favourite scenes was at the end where him and Monty. Apparently there was going to be a rumour that Monty was actually the leader of that cult.
That's sure. I think you know,
because how would they have got all the information if he wasn't there?
But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. I actually thought that myself, because you know when we have a close up. You know when those two are arguing in the office where the captain is.
Yeah.
Right. Those two are arguing, Cobra and Monty.
Yeah.
And it cuts from Cobra's face to his face, to Monty's face, and he looks all psychotic.
Yeah.
And you think, he's the guy.
Yeah, and then he grabs him and he throws him against the table.
He's the guy. He's got to be the guy.
Yeah, it would have been cool if they
He's
did
the main dude. But obviously,
that
wasn't the plan. I was just like, that would have been better, I think.
Because then that other police officer, Stark, who's basically the woman who's feeding all the information to them, was in there. That would have been cool if like he's passed the information to her and she's passed the information to the next.
That would have been great. But obviously, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, and then my other favourite scene is where at the end where he goes to him, Cobra. I would have used a more subtle solution. That's just not your style. And there's no hard feelings. And he's like, all right,
smashes him right
in the face.
You know when he did that, I was like,
good.
Oh, man.
And then he was like, no hard feelings, pal. And then when he goes, the captain goes, all right, Cobra, I'll give you a ride. No, I've got my own transportation. He goes, I want to be alone with her. He goes, all right, do what you're doing. And then he's like, she goes, ready? Yeah, Marion. Catchy name, isn't it? When he goes, when he goes to him on the set, when she goes, did you think of more? I wanted more of a tougher name growing up. What? Alice. that was
like what?
Yeah, that was actually.
I think what would have been better with that scene, because when he punched him and he just like stumbles away into the car, you think he should have just like fell down.
Yeah.
Well, man, if he would have flopped on the floor,
that
would have been even better. If he just flopped on the floor right on his back and just knocked unconscious, that would have been a lot better.
Yeah, definitely, it would have been.
But when he stayed standing, I was just like, oh man, he could have just. He needed a better punch than that.
Well, it was a left. Remember, when he's Rocky, he's a southpaw, isn't he? The right hand's the jab, where the left hand's the overhand. The overhand cross he gives him.
Yeah, but he uses the right hand though, doesn't he?
What, in Rocky or
no? In Cobra.
Oh yeah, he does a little bit of both. Yeah. That was another good. One of my other favourite scenes in that was that the monologue the Night Slasher and Cobra have just before the fight takes place, where he's like, "Oh, they'll declare me insane. They're gonna let me walk."
That was good, yeah.
And when one of my favourite lines in that was when he goes, "The court is civilized, isn't it?" And he goes, "But I'm not. This is where the law starts when I start, sucker." He's about to kill him. He goes, "I don't care because there's no witnesses around. He's going to get the job done and get rid of this guy."
And then he puts him onto that hook.
Ooh. Like, no, did you see that scene where he's hitting him with the gun?
Yeah.
Make sure you stay down. And then, I mean, hats off to Stallone. He must be very strong to lift that guy up. That guy's like, Brian Thompson was like,
big guy.
Yeah, about 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, he was a big guy. But you know when he puts him on that hook?
Yeah.
And he goes through the flames like, oh.
Yeah, what a way to go out.
I was just like looking, I was like, please don't show that anymore.
Yeah.
And like, there you go.
There were actually plans to do a sequel to that movie. No, I don't think it. In a way, no. But they've been saying to Stallone, can you either do a sequel or release a director's cut of the movie?
Director's cut, leave the sequel out. It doesn't need it. Where they're gonna go?
Yeah, because obviously he's not married to her anymore.
Yeah, plus where they're gonna go with the story.
Yeah, and like, you know, what's even sad was what happened to Brian Thompson in real life when the premiere kicked in. He had to buy his own ticket to go watch the movie because he was not invited to by the film's producers at Warner Brothers.
Whoa.
He goes, even till today, that still mystifies him.
Wait, yeah. Do you know why that was?
No, I'll be honest with
you. That's shameful, isn't it?
It's very shameful.
The guy that was a big part of the movie
is not in it.
Is not in the premiere.
Yeah, exactly.
So he wasn't on the red carpet.
No, he had to buy his own ticket to be invited to the premiere. See the film.
But he was on the red carpet.
Yeah, he goes, he goes, he had to buy his own ticket to watch the movie because he was not invited to the film's premiere.
So he wasn't actually on the red carpet with the others?
Apparently
not. Having interviews?
No.
Oh, God, that is...
awful.
I'm very interested. Surely something would have happened with the reason why they didn't invite him.
I think you might be right.
Do you think he might have said something? Do you think he might have behaved a certain way towards Stallone?
I don't know, maybe.
Do you think Stallone didn't want him there?
Maybe, I don't know. Because even sometimes back in the 80s...
Stallone, what did you do?
He said that.
What did you do?
Don't anger Rocky Balboa or John Rambo. Okay, John Rambo, don't anger him.
No, I'd rather anger Rocky than
He'll still hit you.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to... if less of the two evils is definitely Rocky.
Yes, this is a bit more sympathetic.
Yeah.
Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, before we give out the names of the people who got the movie right, who, like as I mentioned, I put up on the Insta post that if you get the name of the movie right by mentioning the clues, we will give you a shout out. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
6.
Yeah, I think I would give it about 6.5 myself.
It's. I mean, we can't go any more than that, can we?
No. Because, like I said, if it was a bit more written better, it would have been a better movie.
Because here's the thing, right? Here's the thing that I didn't like. I didn't like the film because before we started filming, I told you I didn't like the film. I loved the entertainment. The entertainment was great. The acting was good. Yeah. Entertainment was great. The action scenes was great. The suiting up scenes were great.
Yeah.
It was just the story itself. You know, one of the things that didn't make sense to me is, you know, when you saw the underground scenes every time the group was together and it was clanging. With the...
I didn't understand that either.
It was a bit
he had a guy in a suit there as well.
What's he doing there?
I don't know.
And then all of a sudden, right, you didn't see that many of them, did you?
No, you
but
didn't.
when they came into town to cut the wires to ambush Cobra and then obviously get her to kill her, how many is there? It's like a battalion.
Yeah. And he's singly handling them all by himself.
It's like a battalion coming into town. You see the night scene where they're all coming or on the highway going towards the village. And when they get there, where did they all go?
Yeah, exactly.
And then all of a sudden, when the big fight kicks off, which I love, by the way, they just keep appearing. It's like he's killing them left, right, and centre.
Yeah, exactly.
And then 20 of them come out of nowhere again. Yeah. Like, where did he come from? I didn't get it.
One of my other favourite scenes in that is, you know, when they run back into the house, Cobra, Ingrid, and Gonzalez.
Yeah.
And then the way he takes his jacket off, he goes, "Get down over there." He's like, "Get down over there." He's like, flings the jacket. He's like, "All right, I'm ready for this now." And he's like, he's geared up to the max for this one scene he's about to do. Yeah. He's got to protect this witness. He's got to protect himself. He's got to protect the partner.
He's got Gonzalez to worry about.
No, Gonzalez can handle himself in a way.
Yeah, that's true. He's in the other house anyway. That gets blown to bits.
Yeah. What's another good scene was, you know, at the end when Gonzalez has been shot in the leg. And he goes, he's asking him on the stretcher, "Are you going to be all right?" He goes, I'm going to miss the dance finals. Is there anything you need? I would kill for some what? Gummy bears. And he's like, Cobra's like, "Gummy bears?" And he's smiling, "Yeah, I want some gummy bears." He goes, "I'll see you at the hospital."
But I love it when he pauses as well, where he goes, "I could take, do anything you need?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'd kill for some gummy bears." And he smiles like that.
Yeah, that was a good scene.
And then he just goes, obviously Cobra's like, "Gummy bears?" He's like, "Yeah.
I'll see you at the hospital."
He just,
that was it, yeah.
Gummy bears, really, after what you've been through. Here, have an apple.
No, don't want the apple.
What are you, my dad?
Yeah, that's true, he says that. Alright, so I've got a list of shout-outs to give to people who got the answer right, so I'm going to start in order.
Let's hear it.
First one is Francisco, again, one of my gym bros who got it right. He's a huge Rocky fan, as well as...
well, there you go.
So that's...
Well done, man.
Gracias, amigo. And also, I've got Daniel from Everything Is Life. If you haven't seen the interview yet on the original AddiBiotics channel, he got the answer right as well.
Well done, mate.
Thank you. Also sells amazing food, all organic, everything.
Wow.
Yeah. Michael from the gym. Mike. Thanks, Mike, for getting the answer right.
Fantastic.
Will, our Will.
Hey.
Definitely. Tal even got the answer right.
There you go.
Yeah. Thanks, bro. Well, he out of all the movies of Stallone, Rambo 2 is his absolute favourite. So when we review that, he has to do it.
Well, we've got to mention him.
Yeah, we've got to mention it. Ryan from my gym, he's a great Muay Thai. He's good at boxing. I'll tell you one thing, he's got one mean left uppercut.
Oh, well, yeah, we don't want to get him wrong side with that.
But he's such a nice lad.
Just don't go up to him and just insult him, because he'll probably give you that left hook.
Like, out of nowhere. Yeah. That actually flies out of nowhere. I'm not going to exaggerate.
So don't ganger in people.
Prince, another friend of mine at the gym.
Oh, Prince.
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic, mate.
Thanks, brother. And also Tommy from my gym as well. Tom Hall. Really sound guy he was. And
thank you for participating.
Yes, of course. I like the way you said that, participate. And also Nairobi, who's the huge Predator fan. And he says as well, he's been begging us to do Predator. I said, don't worry about it.
We'll do it.
Nowadays, when we're at the gym and we've got the shirts on ready to work, I've got my shirt on, he's like, we have to do that the legendary Predator handshake. So when I see him, I go, you son of a... And then bastard, bang. And then we have the shot done together. I can't say that on camera. And we can't say that because obviously I respect him too much and everything. Yes. And then we're like having the arm wrestle, and I say all the lines like, what's the matter, CIA got you pushing too many pencils, hard enough? And he's like, make it easy on yourself, Dutch. And that's it, it's all done. But no, seriously, he's a great dude. He's a great big movie fan as well. And he's been asking us, when we do the movie Predator, if he's alright to do a clip. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Film a clip, send it over, and we'll edit it and put it up for you. That's no problem.
No problem. That'll be great. That'll be great.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's podcast. Can't believe we're on episode 10 already. And
does time go very quickly when one's having fun?
Yes, of course. And then, so again, I want to say a big thank you to everybody out there. If you made it to the end of the podcast, give it a thumbs up, click subscribe, turn on notifications, because we're going to have a new trilogy starting soon, and we're not going to tell you what it is.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be, everybody knows this film. It's one of the most greatest and most clever films ever made. And it was a benchmark film for other films to actually come up in the future as well. So
that's a little hint he's giving you there.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I didn't realise I did that.
Well,
the word future, obviously, come on, you obviously know what it is.
Definitely, yeah.
But obviously, you have to guess what it is when Addy decides to do the question.
Yeah, definitely.
What film am I talking about? If you don't get it right, I'll be just very, very disappointed.
Don't do that, please, everybody.
I'll be just very disappointed.
Don't do that. All right.
Unless you're 18 or 17.
So then you forgive it.
Yeah.
You can Google the answer, IMDb. I don't care. Just
if you haven't seen it, just see the film. You'll love it.
Yes. See the film. It's a classic.
Johnny Be Good. Oh, that's another one.
Yeah, definitely. So see, he's given the answer already. So just find out.
No. Obviously, if you've seen the film, you know what that is.
Definitely. And we'll be
surely you will know what it is.
Oh yeah, definitely. So again, thank you to everybody for today's podcast. Aiden, also always a pleasure working with you, and we'll definitely be again working again for the foreseeable future. And
welcome.
Definitely. So also remember, everybody, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and also on Twitter, and we also be on Spotify and Anchor as well now, so you can listen to us while you're either in the gym or going out for a walk or even anything in general.
Anywhere, even if you're in the bath.
No electronic good shouldn't be going in there.
You've got Bluetooth headsets.
Yeah, okay, we'll go with that one. Alright, so again, everybody, always remember, the ATs rocked.
They do rock.
Well, this guy agreed with.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, brother.
See you soon, guys.
See you soon, everybody. See you next time.